Hey everybody, welcome back. I am going to be talking to you guys about Fragile X today, and one of the things that I really want to give you guys my feedback on and give you a little recap of my experience. The event I went to was held on April 7th in Waltham, Massachusetts at the Boston Children's Hospital, and it was called Success Strategies for Individuals and Families Impacted by Fragile X. There was a whole group of professionals and different doctors and such that are researching and really involved in what's going on with Fragile X right now, and they just had a lot of great information just to give you guys a general idea of what you may encounter if you were to participate in one of these kinds of events. And I definitely encourage you guys to go because it's really amazing opportunity and such a great experience. So without further ado, I went to this event with one of my good friends. She works with a young woman who has a lot of different challenges and different conditions. She does not actually have Fragile X, but a lot of the things that we learned in this little seminar, she found helpful for things that she does on a daily basis at her job. And I've never been to anything quite like this, so I really didn't know what to expect. I honestly thought that I was not going to get all that much out of it, just because I personally am not somebody that likes to sit in like a lecture type environment. I usually don't take much in that way, but everything that they were saying, minus one section of it, did seem to resonate, and I was able to really follow along with what they were saying and use a lot of the tools that they had suggested. So one of the first people to speak was talking about a lot of the research for any possible cures, different kind of projects that they are working on, a whole bunch of stuff that I honestly didn't really follow all that much because it was like really deep into genetics and modifying and all that kind of stuff. But you got the general idea of what they were trying to do, where they were with it, and what we can hopefully expect to be put out there soon enough, hopefully, and be of use to us as families that are impacted with Fragile X. So a lot of what was explained during that presentation was very much geared toward experimental drugs and different types of treatments. So that in itself was probably one of the most interesting, just because that's one of the things that everybody thinks about when they know that they're going to be, helping a family member get through life with this gene. And these mutations are, all across the board difficult to handle. I know that from having a 4-year-old, and I also have a brother who's younger that deals with a lot of these different stresses, and we all think, as parents or as siblings or whatnot, where's the relief? Where are we going to find an answer to this condition that is inhibiting people that we love to reach their full potential? So I know that for at least 5 years there has been a talk of a cure. I don't know the details of it, so I'm not going to actually go into what they may or may not be getting into because I'm not sure myself. I will leave a link down below from the National Fragile X Foundation of all of the things that they are researching right now with their funding, all that kind of stuff, if you are interested and maybe you understand things like that a little bit better than I do. But anyway, so I know that when I was pregnant there was a possible cure or treatment that should be out by the time Elias is about 6 years old. That was one of the things that they did mention. Like I said, the terminology was a little bit over my head, so I couldn't give you the exact, this was what it was and what they were going to do and yada yada yada. And then they did mention a couple of other things that they were getting into. And just having that knowledge that, the money that we're raising, all the, work you're putting into trying to get people to be aware of Fragile X, it's all going somewhere positive. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I truly do believe that they are on a brink of at least getting a treatment out there to help us and to help our children, because I know for me, I go through days where I literally am just sitting there thinking, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, how am I going to make it through this day? and not snap? How am I going to, get everything done right now when, my son refuses to walk to the car and just wants to throw himself on the ground and start screaming bloody murder? How am I supposed to go to the grocery store when, he refuses to get into the cart? All of those lovely things that children just do, but then with us, it's like it's intensified because most likely they can't communicate. Most likely, they're stressed out about something that had nothing to do with what was just going on, and they have a complete breakdown, and it was from something that happened 6 hours ago. And, with my son, there's no communication for him to say, I'm upset about this. It's just, the meltdowns. And having to deal with that as a parent and then thinking, oh, there's no cure for this. Oh, there's no treatment for this. That's a scary, scary thought. And I personally found a lot of relief, like I said, just hearing them, say, this is where we are, this is what we're trying to do, this is where we're going, and that they do feel quite confident in the research that is being done right now. The next thing that they discussed was behavioral strategies, which was a huge, huge thing for a lot of people, and I personally was really intrigued in just the amount of information that the person who presented had. And like she said, she's like, I can't fit in everything that I know in, I think it was 45 minutes. During the behavior presentation, she went through a whole bunch of different things. We talked about breathing exercises to help kind of calm them down when they're going through their meltdowns. Talked about sensory boards, using PECs. She went through the ABCs of behavior, the importance of visual strategies such as PECs. If you're not familiar, PECs are little pictures that are made to be put kind of in sentences to begin learning language. Elias uses PECs at school. Sometimes he uses them in his speech therapy, but we were using a communication device until he broke it. And we were using touch chat, which is basically the same thing, just on the iPad, which Elias, of course, you guys all know, is like in love with the phone and the iPad and all that stuff. So she also mentioned the use of an anxiety scale, like don't let them get into the red, prevent it before they get that far into the red where they start to completely just flip out. And preparation for transitions was another thing that she spoke about. She also explained the importance of positive reinforcement. I know personally for Elias, he absolutely loves to clap and get high fives and things like that, really make him that much more motivated to get things done, and he's really receptive to it. Overall, my experience was really great. So we had our presentations, and then we broke off for lunch. After lunch, we had the choice to go to different icebreaker groups. So you got to be in a smaller group and focus on one particular topic. The two icebreakers that we chose to go to were the educational one and the behavioral one. So in the behavioral one, she passed around different sensory toys or objects or whatnot to help children with Fragile X kind of keep their focus, keep their cool. One of the things that she gave us was a little travel bubbles, and I have to say that is genius, because what kid doesn't like bubbles? And I mean, I've tried in my own car. It was sitting in my purse. I still had it from the presentation, and Elias started, bashing his head in his car seat and kicking and flipping out. And so I just took the bubbles out of my purse while we're, in the car, and I just started blowing them. I wasn't even blowing them in his direction, and it totally just, took his attention away from whatever it was that was frustrating him, and it caught his attention enough to where he stopped. That was enough for me. And I was just driving and blowing bubbles, and it was the simplest thing, and I was like, this woman's a genius. What else did she have? The clay, what is it called? I think it's foam clay or something like that. That was one of the things that she had. Little stress balls, which I can't give Elias because he'll just eat them. But she just had a lot of different ideas, and having people that actually take the time to study this disorder and then take the time to figure out, okay, what can we do so that this doesn't happen, or what can we do when this does happen, and having that kind of plan. That's something that I've been looking for forever for Elias. I still am, going through different procedures to try to get him the help that he needs, because he's not receiving ABA services. That's behavioral analysis, if you don't know, because he doesn't have the diagnosis of autism. So he is now going to get tested for autism and have like a group of professionals examine him and evaluate him and see if that's something that he is on the spectrum of. I personally don't think that he is, but I mean, I'm no doctor. And if he is, then that opens up a whole door of opportunities for him to get treatments later on and whatnot. The second icebreaker that I went to was about education, and I found out a couple of things that I didn't know. There's an opportunity for adolescents with Fragile X to extend their education so that they can prepare themselves to go from high school into the real world and, possibly have a job, get together with, I think they're called job coaches, I'm not really sure, but they will kind of go with them to their jobs, get them comfortable with what they're doing, so that they're going to be working at Walmart and they're going to be a greeter. They'd have that person there to kind of, help them if they get really high anxiety or if something, goes wrong or whatever, and just get them comfortable so that they can have their independence. The idea behind them staying in school isn't so much for them to do school-like things, more like lifestyle skills, which schools should be teaching anyway, which they don't. That's a totally different conversation. But anyway, so I didn't know that. I thought that they were just going to give them extra time to do whatever it is, book work that they do. I didn't realize it was for that, which is great. There was also a question about how to get parents to cooperate when it comes to IEPs and different strategies that they're using at school and aren't getting transferred home, vice versa. One of the things that I found to be really ironic was to see the other side as like the teachers or the, occupational therapists and so on, their kind of concerns working with parents. Because I know that when I first thought about my IEP meeting, my blood pressure was like through the roof. And if you guys have been watching me for a while, I have a video, it was about I think my fitness favorites or something, and I was like talking about like the stress that I had, just that week right before my son was going to start preschool, because I had to think about all of these things that I didn't have to worry about before. And knowing that going into that meeting, everybody is going to tell you, oh, the school's going to just do the bare minimum. They're not going to tell you what you need. You have to go in there guns blazing. Everybody's going to tell you this. And I don't know why people do that, because you literally scare the crap out of people to get them probably in a situation where I was, where my anxiety was so high going into that meeting that there were probably important things that I could have thought about instead of this anxiety of like, oh no, the school is going to try to play me. I can't speak for every school system, I can't speak for every district, but I do know that the educators themselves, for the most part, do want to do what's best for the kids. They do have every intentions on doing what's best for the kids, because not only are they trying to teach them, but they also have to deal with those behaviors. And if they're going to take the time to put in to get this child's trust, to get this child to, do day-to-day activities in the classroom, and then teach them on top of that, if they're going to put all of that effort into this child, they're not going to set them up to fail. So having a little bit more faith in the school system, and I'm not saying that is everywhere, I'm actually kind of saying it just to me, but having a little bit more faith in the teachers themselves as individuals and not so much as like the school system, I feel like that's something that people should take into consideration, just for your own sanity. Because if you think that they're against you, you're gonna automatically already start to feel like you're not getting what you need for your child. Like, my child should have ABA services, and according to the school, he gets them, but he's not getting anything extra than any other kid that he should be getting. So And that comes down to diagnoses, which I'm not going to get into because personally I think it's a bunch of crap. I mean, that's just me. So I did see a lot of people getting a lot of answers and a lot of relief. Somebody had mentioned moving to California, and if they knew of, you know, why the school systems were better off and stuff like that. And, you know, there was a lot of people being able to offer some advice to each other and just having that open-ended conversation, which is the next thing I want to get into, is the 5 benefits to going to an event like this, an educational event for Fragile X. So one of the first things is obviously learning the latest information about the research, the treatments, what's going on, you know, who's bringing what to the table, all of that great stuff. And it is a lot to take in, especially if you are just being introduced to Fragile X and you have to kind of start from the beginning with the history of it, where it comes from, figure out how it came through your family, all of those kinds of things. Learning the latest information about the technology and the resources and things like that is still so important, because that's what's going to help you now. Learning everything about what is being done in the present is very motivating, for one, because I know that in the back of my head when I think, okay, we're having a really bad day here, and I know that it's really testing my patience, and in the back of my head, all I keep thinking is, one day, one day, there will be something. I don't know if it's going to work for Elias. I don't know if it's going to work for everybody. All I know is there's going to be something to try, something to look forward to. So being able to kind of keep up with, you know, the notifications or the emails or the newsletters or what have you, however you want to stay connected, it's really beneficial to you. The studies that are going on, that's an opportunity for you not only to meet professionals in that environment, and also for you to see your child under an evaluation and see how they act in different situations with different people. You would also be compensated for your travel, your time, and you know, so if that's something that interests you, you could definitely look up studies that are going on in your area. I know that there is another one going on in Massachusetts. I will leave the link down below if you guys are interested. I may or may not have Elias participate in that. I did have him participate in one last year, I believe. Also, participating in research trials and things like that does also put you on the list to be in the know of what's going on. So you will get updates about what's going on with the trials and, you know, where they're going with the research and all those kinds of things. The second thing is being able to meet the professionals in this field, people that are experts in Fragile X, people who have been working on getting, you know, the cures, the treatments and stuff like that for years, people that have invested their lives into trying to find a way to give us some relief. And along with that, you also get to meet different families and make connections with people who are in similar or the same situation as you. And having people in your corner that know what you're going through on a day-to-day basis is probably the most important part of all of this, because I personally don't know what I would do if I didn't have my friend whose son is a little bit older than Elias, and he doesn't have Fragile X, but everything that Elias is doing and going through right now, she's been there, she's done that. So like every time I'm like, oh my gosh, he did this again, she's like, oh, you know, this is what you do, this is, you know, how I did this and whatever. And it's really helpful, because there is a lot of crazy things that these kids are gonna do, and you're just gonna be like, did that just happen? I have to wonder how other families are coping with these things, how they're dealing with these things, and to even just be able to kind of, you know, vent back and forth is just, it's definitely a good thing, and that's something that I definitely encourage people to do. It's really a great opportunity to get more acquainted with the people in your community who are also dealing with the struggle of Fragile X. The third benefit is to develop your education so that you can be the best advocate for your child. I know that being the person that needs to know everything and be on top of everything and get all the paperwork going and all of that happy-go-lucky stuff is stressful. It is so stressful, and it's extremely overwhelming. It's just crazy how much one little person can need so much. And, you know, we do it because we love them. We do it because it's for their best interest. And being able to have that knowledge just makes you more powerful. The more knowledge that you have about Fragile X, the more you're going to be able to help your loved one who's affected by Fragile X. And I'm still learning here and there what, you know, what's new, what's changed, stuff like that. When I first found out about Fragile X back in 2002, when my brother was diagnosed, I was obsessed. I was about 12, 13 years old, and I mean, I just went and looked up everything possible, every book I could find, every assignment that I had in school from then on that I could choose what I wrote about, that's what I wrote about. Let's just put it that way. And with even all of that knowledge, I mean, things have still changed. Like the actual history of it, you know, that is what it is, but like things that they hadn't figured out then, they know now, and different stuff. So it's all evolving. And as long as, you know, you have the education to keep up with it, you're going to be the best advocate for your child when you do go into the schools and when you do go and try to find help for your child. So having access to all of this information is crucial, and being able to sit there and engage and actually have other people there, listen to other people's questions. It's way more interesting than sitting in front of your computer and going on the website. So I personally think that I paid attention more because of the setting that I was in. And I felt like I gained a lot more knowledge because it was more of a conversation than it was me just sitting on my computer and trying to, you know, be like, oh yeah, I know that, oh that's different, you know, whatever it may be. So the fourth thing is to receive answers to all your questions. That's something that, you know, you may go look specifically for an answer to your question, and you may find it on Google, you may not find it, you may find it in a book, you may not. Maybe you have a specific question and you really need to have somebody that is extremely knowledgeable to answer the question. Not every PCP or pediatrician is going to have the answer. You know, your neurologist may not have the answer. And these people that are devoting their lives to figuring out, you know, what is it we can do for these people that are living with Fragile X. And that's specifically what they are looking into. They're the people that you want to get the answers from, because they're the ones that are dealing with it on a day-to-day basis just as you are. And also I think that having questions answered by other people that are in the same boat as you, I think that that's great, because I think having somebody from the same perspective as you be able to kind of shed light on something that you've been kind of, you know, going over in your mind, it kind of gives you relief, thinking like, oh, okay, so this person's been there, they've done that, and, you know, what they did worked. What this person is suggesting is something that I could try. And being able to just have that kind of instant gratification of an answer, I think that it's worth attending an event. And then the fifth thing is a place for support, recommendations, and other resources. So they gave us printed handouts of the presentations that they did. They gave us a list of different resources that we could go to. I mean, anything that you could think of that you may have wanted to learn that day, you had the opportunity to learn for the most part. I felt like every single person that was there really did care genuinely about the families. And in my experience, the woman who was in charge of the education portion, you know, I was explaining to her about my brother and his situation living in North Carolina, not having the resources that I have here in New Hampshire, and how my brother kind of just fell through the cracks. And that's where we came up with, you know, is it worth it for my brother to go back to school for a few extra years if they, you know, have not invested all that much into him anyway? And you know, she even pulled me aside after the icebreaker was over, and she was like, you know, I just feel terrible. She's like, I wish I knew more about what, you know, their protocol is, what exactly, you know, they can offer, and what they have actually done for him since he's been there. And she's like, you know, those are the kinds of things that just make me sad, because there's so many opportunities, and there is the resources, and there is, you know, all of this education. And, you know, some schools, they just don't have the education. And that's one of the reasons why, you know, us advocating and spreading this awareness and putting it out there is so important, because there's people that, you know, are just a few states away, and they just don't have the education in the school system to, you know, properly educate our kids. And I mean, it's just unfortunate. It really is. Having gone to this conference, I absolutely plan on going to the one that they're holding in Connecticut. I believe it's on November 3rd. I will link below the information for that one, and any other ones that I do find. You guys can just go on the National Fragile X website. It's fragilx.org, and you can go under community events, and there is a full calendar there that will tell you of the events that they have been made aware of for that month. So one thing that I am really excited about is I found some events on there already for the months of May and June. So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you guys those events. I'm also going to list them down below with links, so that if they are in your area and it's something that you're interested in, you guys can go ahead and get involved. These are fundraising events, and if I do see anything else pop up, I will go ahead and just add the links down below for you guys. So the first event is a National Fragile X event, and it is a golf tournament. There's also a baseball game, and those are for the month of May. For the month of June, the National Fragile X Foundation has a Bike X event. 2 events in June. One is a basketball game, the other is a golf tournament. FRAXA is just another organization that does raises awareness and fundraises and research for Fragile X. The National Fragile X Foundation International Conference will be held July 11th till July 15th in Cincinnati, Ohio. They will be broadcasting the conference to other countries, I do believe, because it does say international. I personally will not be attending the one in Ohio. Maybe one day I will be able to swing that. They also do have a scholarship program for people who want to attend the conference. So if money is an issue, then you could always go and apply for that. For those of you who don't know, National Fragile X Day is July 22nd. And on July 29th, we will be hosting our 4th annual 5K for Fragile X. That is a fundraiser that we do hold here for Elias. So if you are in the New England area and would like to participate, we would love to have you. And I'm going to leave a link down below for our team, so you guys can sign up if you would like to join us. You can make a donation for the team if you'd like, and you can also create your own team in your own town. So our walk is part of the Making Strides fundraising group, I guess you would call it, for the National Fragile X Foundation. There's a ton of different resources for a lot of countries, so if you're not in the United States and you want to know where you can find resources and go to things like these different conferences, I'm going to link that down below as international events, so hopefully you guys can find something that's close to you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I completely and totally appreciate all the love and support, especially with the Fragile X videos that I've put out. If you guys have any suggestions or requests on things that you want to know about, different things that you guys want me to talk about referring to Fragile X, please just let me know down in the comments. I also am going to be doing a kind of a Q&A situation. So if you guys have any questions for me, please do leave them down below, because I'm going to do a Q&A specifically on Fragile X, and I can include your questions in that video if you would like to participate. Make sure that you guys check the description box, because there's going to be a ton of information about everything that I just talked about, and I want you guys to get as much resources as possible. And if I can help supply that information and make it a little bit easier for you guys to find, I definitely would love to do that for you. So I'm going to wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you guys don't miss a new video. and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.